Hi, I'm Loretta, and I'm really glad that you showed up today. Welcome to my sewing room.
Good morning, viewers. So I've got my block 5 pieces opened up and laid out here. I've got them divided up into the uh, quadrants, the units that we'll be putting together to put the final block together. I've got all the pieces laid out like it shows in the diagram in your instructions. So technically this is D, B, C, and A units as labeled in the instructions, but I'm going to just piece from the upper left quadrant and do a clockwise direction. So that's how we're going to piece this, and I will meet you over at the sewing machine and we'll get started with block number 5. Okay, here we are at the machine, and I've decided to take a slightly different approach to this block. I'm going to piece all the similar units together, chain piece them, and then put the whole thing together. So I'm going to start with these darker corner triangles and add these pieces to it. So this darker corner triangle gets this darker print on it. And once again, we're just lining up this tip right here with this right up here. There's the next one. And then these light colored triangles with the square polka dots on them. They get this sort of botanical light colored print. Alright, so there's those. I will get those pieces pressed open, and then we'll go on to piecing the small diamond units that have the triangles on them. Okay. So I've got these separated. One of these teal colored diamonds gets 2 of these, and the other one gets 2 of this light colored, colorful, almost paisley-like print. So start off putting this one on. And then the next one, start with one of this print. Get those 2 pressed, I'll add the other side. And now I'll add the matching unit to the other side. And you may notice that my pieces are looking just a tiny bit raggedy. That is because I pieced this entire block without hitting record on my camera. So I had to unsew the whole block. So here we are, take 2. I was very, very, very careful with my ripping out of my seams, and then I carefully pressed each block as well, or each piece, and made sure that I didn't stretch the bias. And I used a little bit of a pressing aid to get them flat again. So something like Best Press, but I used a product I just discovered called Flatter, and did a really good job of crisping these pieces up a little bit. Alright, now I'll press those seams, and we'll piece the other 2 diamond units together. And here are the other 2 sets. These 2 diamond pieces are the same fabric. They don't look quite the same because they're in different sections of this fairly large print. One of them gets 2 of these polka dot type ones, and one of them gets 2 of these. So we'll get those started on here. Get everything lined up as best I can. There we go. Alright, get those 2 seams pressed, and then I'll add the second triangle. Alright, second side here. This is actually a faster way to piece these blocks, but if you tend to get a little bit confused about what fabric goes where, it might be better to just piece them as individual units. Okay, I'm going to press those, and then I'll start joining these with the units that I pieced previously, and we'll get these turned into the 4 quadrants. Oh, and it looks like I took too much of a seam allowance on this one here. I'm not sure where my, oh wait, here, I've got a seam rip around the other side of this. So I'm going to take out part of this seam. Looks like right about there. I could tell that was just a little bit too deep because when I opened this up, I could tell that my tip of this diamond was more than 1/4 inch from the edge. So put my needle down in the center there. That looks much better. Okay, get those pressed, and then we will add those larger, well, the pieces aren't bigger themselves, but the piece with the larger 2 triangles. We'll add these to those, and we'll have our 4 quadrants finished. Alright, I'm going to piece these 4 quadrants together, chain piecing them. I've got them all stacked up next to my machine here with the correct pieces paired properly. And just remember that this 3-piece subunit goes to the right of this 2-piece subunit each time. I've got just a little stretching here because of having to take these pieces apart. So I'm just coaxing it as I go. And again, some stretching there. This one next. And the last quadrant, again, this piece goes to the right of that one. All right, all 4 quadrants are now stitched together. I just need to press them we'll join them into halves and then join those two halves into the final block. All right, now I'm going to piece two of the units together into the halves on each side. So I'm starting with the left half of the block. Lay it right sides together. Line up that 90-degree corner there. And again, I'm easing in just that little bit of stretching that I've got. And now the right half of the block, right sides together, lining up that 90-degree corner. Right, now we have two halves. I'll press those and we'll do that final seam down the center. All right, I'm ready to piece the two halves together for this final seam. Once again, I'm just going to match up that center. Do my best to ease that little bit of stretching in. Now that I'm past that center point, I'll line up this other end. Okay, that block now just needs to be pressed, and then I'll meet you over at the cutting table and show you the finished block. And here we are back at the cutting table, and this is the completed block. You're going to make 4 of these. These are block number 5, and this one has come out to the correct 9.5 inches, just like it should, and my points are very nicely aligned in the center of this block. So that is the conclusion of block number 5 for the Alaska Dahlia Block of the Month by Laundry Basket Quilts. So, hope you're getting all your blocks finished on time, and we'll see you next month with block number 6. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.